Ever wish a podcast would explain how to get better faster from the standpoint of longevity, biohacking, and personalized functional medicine? Co-hosts Dr. Jason Bradley and James Chester, along with executive producer Rachel Bradley, bring you the Get Better Faster podcast. Their mission is radically simple: to revolutionize health by connecting people with the experts, technologies, and protocols that mainstream medicine ignores. Because people deserve to get better faster.
All right. Hello, Get Better Faster Nation. I am Dr. Jason Bradley, and along with my co-host, the one, the only, James Chester, and our incredible executive producer, Rachel Bradley, we want to welcome you to another exciting episode of the Get Better Faster podcast. Today, we're joined by someone who's mastered the art of turning impossible into inevitable, Kristen Lucas, the award-winning producer and founder of Goldilocks Productions. She's the woman behind the All They Can Say Is No movement. I cannot wait to talk about that. Teaching people how to ask boldly for what they want and transform rejection into rocket fuel for success. Kristen has produced award-winning films, built a media empire celebrating badass women, and perhaps most importantly, she's cracked the code on how asking for what you want can literally heal your relationship with fear, failure, and your own potential. Without further ado, Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to share some of what we've already kind of, I've been sneak peeking some of these things out because I have yet to write the book, but I am building the movement. So thank you. Thank you for that.
I already want to pre-order the book. I'm just going to put that on the table right now.
But I got to get to writing.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm so excited to dive in.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kristen, it's my first chance to get to learn about you and see what you're up to. So I'm really excited to share your knowledge and your wisdom with our audience today. It looks like you've mastered the craft of getting people to ask. And I'm sure that you've seen through your journey of developing your systems and the way you go about life and the way you've produced the work that you do, that you've noticed that sometimes people can make themselves sick by not asking for what they need. And through your personal breakthrough moment, when did you realize that asking bold was the way to go with your life?
Well, kind of by accident, to be honest. I was the quiet middle child of the family, the creative one that was down in the basement with the records and the coloring books. And I really kind of came into this really just by wanting to do something that is not a normal path. Being an independent filmmaker who did not go to film school, traditional film school. I went to grad school for screenwriting, but that was like much later. I just had to figure it out. And I always tell people LinkedIn is my Facebook, and I really use it in a way to network and to just ask, because all they can say is no. And so if you don't send that email, you don't send that DM, you don't just ask the question, hey, will you come to my event? Hey, would you read my script? Whatever it is, it just kind of became a thing that I said. All they can say is no, because really, they can ignore the email, they can delete the email, or sometimes you actually get a response and then you just follow it like any kind of journey. I think, and somebody recently that I was talking to talked about relationship and what that like relationship equity, I think they called it. And really, the more you invest in the relationships, the more your network, the more you can do. Like every time you show up at an event, or whether it's virtual or in person, look at how we met, right? By chance, I was told, oh, you're going to speak at the mastermind. And before I knew it, I was up on the stage. And then from there, we met and had further conversations. And so it's just every opportunity that you get to interact with people, learn more about them, they learn more about you, they kind of file it in their mental Rolodex. And then later on, when you come back and say, hey, will you come on my podcast? Hey, will you speak at my event? You've built up that equity to be able to do the reach out and maybe have better success.
Yeah, just listening to the whole thing, we lost a guy recently named Steve Sims. Amazing man. I had a chance to speak with him down in Puerto Rico, and he told me one time, and I repeat this over and over and over, and I realized when you were going to be our guest today, that you were in alignment with his message. He would tell me that you get everything you don't ask for. And
it's so basic, right?
It nailed me though. So it made me more bold, and I'm already a bold SOB. Like I'm going after it.
Well, and I'm a badass producer, so I guess we're in the right company. It's that, I think it was like Michael Jordan, or I'm not like a big sports person. You miss all the shots you don't take.
That's Wayne Gretzky.
Kind of in that same lane. And it's something so basic. I feel like we all got taught algebra and all these things that, like, I don't know about you, but I've never used algebra in my real world. I'm sure there are some people that do, but I really feel like they should teach networking as a skill, and how to build your empire of equity in people and relationships. Think about how many times I got a job once that I didn't apply for from a LinkedIn DM that just came from like a DM to somebody who was an alumni from the school I went to grad school from. And then it's like they circle back. And so as long as you're just constantly it's like twofold. It's like networking and asking, those two things together, really where I've had my success. And so I think it's just something that people need to be empowered with, even though it's so basic and obvious, but yet not, because of the fear, I think, and security, maybe. It's funny because like I said, I was the quiet middle child. And when I talk to my parents now that I'm like an adult, my mother's literally like, where's my quiet middle child? And I'm like, she is back at 33 Felton Street in the basement.
Right.
Because once you want something, I wanted to make movies. I wanted to figure out how to do it. I produced an award-winning short film with a crew of 30 people with a budget that everybody in Hollywood asked me, what was the budget for that? And I would say, well, what do you think it was? Because I begged, borrowed, and negotiated and just got the most incredible people to work on my project because I asked, because I got them involved in my vision. I also realized I'm a good salesperson, which I never thought, but you kind of have to be. Those things kind of go hand in hand. I'm always like, I don't know sales. And then I realized every time I reached out to somebody, I was selling them my idea, my vision, whatever. When you're passionate about something, it's just that much easier.
I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think that the passion behind your projects, it speaks volumes. I want to hop back just a nanosecond, because you brought something up that I had just kept in my notes that I was going to bring up later. But since you brought it up now, I'm just going to go there. So we're minutes into the interview, right? So I was wondering, because I mean, I know that when Rachel and I first saw you present, All They Can Say Is No, and I'll let Rach, speak to the way that impacted her. The simplicity of it just makes so much sense. And we're going to dive in. And for our listeners that are like, what the heck does that mean? What is the All They Can Say Is No movement? Here's the great thing about it. It's kind of like when people ask me what the Get Better Faster podcast is about. I just say, what do you think it's about? And then they're like, I don't know, getting better faster. And I'm like, exactly. So it's kind of like, what's the All They Can Say Is No movement? I'm like, well, what do you think it's about? The beauty is in its simplicity. But here's my question, Kristen. Since it's so simple, why? Well, my original question, but you already answered it. Why don't people just do it? Why aren't we just all empowered to just ask for what we need or want or think we need or want? And of course, you already said it, but it's a fear, and probably a fear of rejection. And I wonder what was your defining moment when you just decided, we all have that fear. I mean, I think every human being that's alive and has contemplated this probably has somewhere within them some fear of rejection. And I know that for me, that's held me back in different areas of my life. I'm wondering for you, when did you just kind of say, screw it? All they can say is no. Tell me your breakthrough moment, the moment.
Yeah. And it's multi-layered, right? It wasn't until, I think I told you guys this a couple months ago, I was brushing my teeth one morning, and that's kind of when I have my best thinking, because I have a moment to kind of rest in the shower, when I'm driving to take my dogs for a walk over at the lake, or when I'm brushing my teeth. Those are the 3 times that things just kind of flow. And I was brushing my teeth, and I don't know why, I was like, all they can say is no. And as I was brushing my teeth, I was like, that's an incredible name for a book. And I've been trying to figure out kind of the next thing for me and telling my story and my journey. And all of a sudden I said, that's an incredible name for a book. I'm still brushing my teeth, mind you. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to go see if anyone's ever written a book called All They Can Say Is No. So I ran to my computer, looked it up on Amazon. And in fact, no one has ever written a book called All They Can Say Is No. So I immediately went to GoDaddy. No one owned the domain. Well, guess what? I do now. I also own all the social channels. And then it hit me after it hit me that almost all of the things and all of my success, whether it was like a new client or a new project or a new job or a new relationship in business or whatever, it all laddered back up to just sending that email, just sending that DM. And I was like, wow, instead of telling the other story that I was going to tell called Respect Her Hustle, which was another thing that was kind of like a trademark I owned and kind of like a mantra, I realized that that was not really my life's work, because it really just applies to women, and that All They Can Say Is No really applies to everyone. And it could literally be a masterclass to teach people at any age about anything, personal, business. It was just so broad that it just really spoke to me, because I think I can tell the stories of the simple things where I found success. Here's a prime example. Many years ago, so I have a project in development called Girls Night Out. It is loosely based on me and some friends and some crazy shit that went down one night where I landed myself in the emergency room. I'll tell you guys another time. I don't want to ruin the movie, but a friend of mine who was a writer, he said to me one day, you should really think about reaching out to some of the older female directors that would maybe be looking for a project like yours, because Hollywood's not looking at them right now. They're looking at all the youngins. And I said, who are the people that you were thought of? And they gave me 3 names. And then I went to IMDb Pro and I looked up each and every one of them. And one of them, her email address was right there. Her email, not a manager, not an agent. So what did I do? I sent her an email. I introduced myself. I told her about my project, and then I waited. Nothing. About 2 weeks later, I'm at the grocery store. I'll never forget it. I'm in the juice aisle, like picking up high C or whatever. And this email comes in, and it was from the director. And she said, I need to read your script. I can't get your pitch out of my mind. And I like literally left the grocery store and I went and met with her in Starbucks, like when I was in LA. And this woman wanted to direct my movie. You know what movie she directed that was highly successful? A little movie called Wayne's World. Okay.
Wow.
But nobody cared because she's a 70-year-old woman who, although had success, but I took a meeting with her. I have her phone number in my phone, all because I sent that email. We had the conversations, right? And so in the end, it didn't go anywhere, but she wanted to direct my script if I could get it funded, if Hollywood cared, all those things. But again, that's just one more relationship. And over the years, I've still reached out to her. Hey, this is what's going on, and really like those are just all kind of like your building blocks to your career are the people that you meet along the way. And so I never would have thought that she would have responded to little old me from Worcester, Massachusetts. But that's the other thing is in this day and age, especially after COVID, where everybody's everywhere, as a producer, I used to have imposter syndrome. Oh, I'm some little producer in Worcester, Massachusetts. They're not going to pay attention to me. Guess what? It doesn't matter. As long as you approach them appropriately and with your vision and your idea, you'd be surprised how many people will engage. And then I tried, when I get cold emails, I try to kind of pay it back, pay it forward. And I always respond in some way like, hey, not looking right now. I don't, need an intern or whatever, but always try to like pay it back to the people that gave me time.
Yeah. So. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. I heard it. All I can say is no. And for me, I always think I can do it all. I can do it alone. And I don't need to ask anybody for anything. So yeah, comes from a place of fear. Right. And so I loved hearing that. And definitely is very empowering. So I'm super excited to read your book. And, I found, we had a larger business and it's smaller now. But I've found that like through collaboration and leaning into, the opportunities and really saying yes to life and the things that come your way, is ultimately like how we all get better together. Right. So
yeah,
really appreciate. Yeah.
Well, even that day getting on stage, Marley said, I was in town and she said, hey, I'm going to have you speak at the mastermind. I'm like, about what? That's like not my thing, right? Getting on stage. However, collected myself and was like, oh, I'll just tell the story of how we met, because the way we met was a DM that all she could have said was no. And I DM'd her and said, hey, I should be your brand manager. And now I'm standing here at your event. And so it's too good of a story not to share, because it's of exactly what I'm trying to teach people, right?
I think it's like that whole story is still developing. There's like some really cool pieces of the Stephen Marley story. And just for our listeners, are like, who's Stephen Marley? Yeah. Stephen Larsen and Marley Jaxx, who just got married, was it Friday? At the wedding that literally broke the internet. I think it was incredible event and just amazing people. I could go on and on about that event. But I mean, even at that event, I mean, it was developing of you helping them tell their story. And I mean, I don't know where you are that you can talk about that, but I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, there's some media that's about to hit. We shared some exclusive photos with an outlet, and yes, it's getting very exciting. And when we were all we did a debrief meeting yesterday with the wedding planner, who we just met at the beginning of June. And it was so incredible. Again, from a wedding Facebook group, there was another group that we had met with that just wasn't the right fit. And we realized we just need to find somebody who's willing to take on this assignment. And Lisa, she said yes. Again, all they can say is no. Hey, we have this crazy experiment where we're going to sell tickets to their wedding and we're going to get sponsorships and do a 3-day event and a biohacking brunch. And at every step of the way, we said yes to Marley and Steve and to their idea, and we're along for the ride. And look at the magic that came out and the energy that happened at that event. Another prime example, the wedding cake. I don't know if you guys know this, but Michelle Sohan came in from Jamaica again through a DM. She DM'd Marley. I said to her in the kitchen on Friday, how do you know Marley? Oh, well, I followed her. So again, a simple DM. She saw Marley's content and said, I should make your wedding cake. And then here we all were. And it's just the prime example that people need help. They need support. And all they can say is no. So it's so basic.
Kristen, it's so true. And I know I don't want to take all the interview time, but I just want to say about this project that again began as, this all they can say is no between you and Marley. And, now you're in PR, now you're doing this. And that wedding, just so our listeners understand, again, it's a wedding. Conceptually, they sold tickets to their wedding, but rather than just, they took all their profit, any profit that could be, and donated it to Village Impact to help with schools, educational materials, teachers, building classrooms around the world in Africa. And they raised over $134,000 at their wedding to contribute to this incredible non-for-profit. So, I mean, and that all kind of began and has still taken off to what it's going to be because of all they can say is no DM. And it's just, to me, it's mind blowing. I mean,
it's
just
a Facebook post, right? Marley posted on Facebook, hey, I'm thinking about selling tickets to my wedding. There was all kinds of, people that didn't agree. And it's like being disruptive and finding your people. That's what was really magical, is that the people that didn't understand what she was trying to do and weren't aligned, they weren't for us. And then we went and found the people that were. And I think the proof was in the 3 days, and how beautiful it really was, which was a testament to their incredible relationship and the people that surround them. So it just felt really, really good to support them and be there with everyone, including you all, my speaker. So it's just magic along every step of the way. Every time you turn around, it just feels good that people are are kind of showing up, and it's just simple.
Yeah. I'll ask this question and then I'll hand it off. Kristen, back to you, and then maybe a follow-up question to Rachel. You know, and again, I can only speak through the lens that I have, which is a very, you know, male dynamic. I mean, that's the only experience I have on the planet, right? And I know how hard it is for me to ask things sometimes. And yet I have a feeling, and Kristen, I'll ask you this, and then Rachel, I'd love to hear your follow-up too. But I wonder if as a woman, if it's even harder to like ask. I don't know what I'm exactly saying here, but it seems like I carry a privilege with me of being male, that I maybe am expected to ask things. So it's not out of character, but I just wonder about your lens about the all they can say is no. And Rach, I'd love to hear your perspective as a woman on what this means for you.
Well, especially in a male dominated field like the entertainment business, it definitely, you are the minority in lots of ways. So yeah, I think that when you want something so badly, it doesn't matter. That's kind of where you kind of get to that point with, I want this thing so bad. I want to make this movie. I want to raise the funding. I want to put this project together. Maybe I just got to the point where I just wanted it so bad that what did I have to lose? Who's going to know that I sent an email to the head of Paramount Studios and he ignored me? No one, right? Maybe was your ego going to be hit? I think probably like as I grew older, the more bold I got, as the more confident I got, and the more I wanted to be in this world of entertainment, right? And then once you know you belong, then you want it even more, because then you get that taste of success. The entertainment industry is like no other, you know? I
mean, they say there's no business like show business. I mean, no business I know.
Yeah, it's tough to chat, but it's crazy because once it's in your blood, you can't do something else, right? It's telling stories. You guys are doing a podcast. You're telling stories. You're supporting people telling stories. We're all storytellers at the end of the day, and so for me, I thought I just wanted to do scripted movies, which is why I went to grad school for screenwriting. And then I kind of crossed over into doing unscripted, more like I did a feature documentary, now documentary series. Because at the end of the day, there's just stories everywhere. I can't stop the stories sometimes, which is hard because all stories need funding, which I am tired of trying to raise money independently, because although my last name is Lucas, George Lucas is not my uncle, and I can't just give him a call. So that's the tough part, but that's also where you flex the muscle of all they can say is no. Because you're like, hey, would you please help me fund my project? No. Okay, next, right? So getting all those no's also helps you practice the skill and I guess care less because you want the other thing.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think what I'm hearing is that when you have your mission and you know your purpose, which is storytelling, and I agree with you that everyone has a story to tell, and just, you know, living out that mission, the no's, they don't really matter because you're on mission, right? So with this podcast, we want to, you know, give voice to, you know, women and people that are helping people get better faster, and really, when you have that mission, you know, it's just so much easier to put yourself out there and know which direction to head and what feels like a yes and what is a no, and where to go and everything. So
because if it's the passion that's driving you, then the no, you're not really gonna care as much because you're gonna eventually, hopefully, get that yes. So it's kind of the fuel, right? That's what's driving you. And so over the years, right, we have different tools, we have different ways, we can find the people. Now we have the internet. I have IMDb Pro, so I can go on at any point and find out who's a manager, who's an agent, and cold email them or try to call. I mean, I used to make phone calls. I would leave voicemails for agents and managers. You know, most of them I didn't hear back from, but every once in a while you would, you know, get that call back. Here's a fun story. my short film is called Snowflake. It's about a young girl who finds her voice through hip hop. And I did an 18-minute short film as a proof of concept. But that was also the script that I went to grad school for, but it was an older character. And there was a point in which we reached out to, I think it was some music mogul's office, because we thought, oh, we could get to Justin Bieber and maybe he would be in the movie. And this was years ago. And somehow the person who answered the phone, it was L.A. Reid, who was on that show, The Voice, or one of those shows. L.A. Reid's assistant answered the phone. And we said, we'd like to speak to L.A. Reid. We'd like him to read our script. And they said, well, let us put you in touch with Jonathan McHugh at the LA office. And a week later, I was going to New York to meet Jonathan McHugh and sat behind Justin Bieber's grandparents at the premiere of the Justin Bieber documentary. Because Jonathan McHugh, who still to this day will answer my phone or text and will call me Goldilocks, believed in Snowflake and was like one of the first cheerleaders. And so that was one of the times where that persistence got through to the right person, who then was a cheerleader, and to this day is somebody that when I'm in LA, I'm like, hey, McHugh, let's get lunch, right? And so sometimes it takes just the email or the phone call. So that was a fun one, because he was like, hey, I'm going to be in New York. You want to come to the premiere of the Justin Bieber documentary? Sure.
Yeah.
So I have lots of those stories that are just like, hey, what's your version of that story? And maybe I'm going to have a coaching program someday. I'm not really quite sure, or a membership or something, where I really want to mentor like the younger generation of the entrepreneurs. And I also work with influencers and like to help them figure out, right? Sure, you're successful on social media, but what else? What are those other things?
That's where I was going to take you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I jumped ahead.
Yeah. I think that the conversation is pretty dynamic and organic at the moment. And I think that there's a lot that you're sharing, and Rachel's sharing also from a woman's perspective, which I think is really important for people to hear different voices. That's why we do this, is to give people that platform to be acknowledged and to share and to be able to, the story, like you said. And we do come from a huge health source background of how we go after it. But self-esteem is one of those things, I think, that it's the missing quotient. And you said so much stuff in the first 30 minutes. I just been taking aggressive notes because I am a man and I'm a driver, and I think about things differently. I push the ball down the field. I score. I want to win. And I want this interview to really hit for people too. And I really, to me, you being a creator, hearing people, we didn't say these words, but a lot of creators or a lot of podcasts will say dovetail, unpack, circle back. Those are like the kisses of death to me. I want to go and say, let's create a program for kids and teach them self-esteem and get them into the flow to say, I can ask hard questions. And, I'm sure just because you're so dialed in with the Steve and Marley and their group, you understand who Russell Brunson is. You probably saw him at the wedding, but he created a concept called the Dream 100. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody should do this. This is actionable, not just from your perspective, but from a marketing perspective. Create those 100 producers that you want to reach out to.
Yep. And
reach out to them through the cold DMs. And my funny moment for you is maybe you should start brushing your teeth 3 times a day.
More ideas. No, I don't need more ideas.
But
ideas. I'll need more money to fund all the crazy.
But that was the perfect tee up, because how do you have the bandwidth? That's my question for you, is how do you have the bandwidth to be the person that sends out all the DMs and builds all the relationships and then realize what's right for you and then stick with that?
Good question.
I'm good at this stuff.
Yeah. Well, so right now I'm going through a little bit of a streamline because I have a hard time, ironically, right? All they can say is no. I have a hard time saying no, and I say yes too much, which gets me in trouble.
Yes, that was my other design for you, is how do you put the barriers around and say, I'm not just going to respond back to these emails that don't matter to me. I'm sorry, but I'm onto this big project and these things require my attention 100%. And I need 3 assistants now.
Yeah, so back to Marley and Steve, right? So they got engaged on January 1st, and we had to get to August 1st. That's literally from when they got engaged to when the wedding was. So I was like, okay, let's just get through that, plus all these other projects. And then, because I actually need to write the book, I have it designed already.
Nice.
Beautiful.
And I figured if I had it designed and it was like staring at me, I would make it happen. I also went and rented an Airbnb for a weekend, and my cousin flew in from Houston, and we had like a girls' weekend where we mapped things out. And so I started an outline. And so I was like, once we're through the wedding and the crazy, I'm going to dedicate some time to get the book done, because I realized I've been saying yes to so many other people. I've been saying no to me and actually getting this book done. And I went to see Mel Robbins this year, who's another one of my heroes, for the Let Them Theory tour. And one of the things that she had us do was take out our notebook and write something down that we were going to accomplish this year. And I wrote down, this is the year I write my book. And that's also over here on the wall. So that's going to be the next thing.
I have a publisher for you.
Amazing. So I need to carve out some time for me, right?
And so, dream 100 of funders. Make that an objective.
I love it.
That will help you get to the place you need to go, because that was the one pain point of our whole conversation I heard you mention, because you seem to have it all packed and all ready and all sealed and signed and delivered. But it sounds like you need support that people can start buying into you better. Well, I think the same methods roll into this next layer, this next level for you, is to find the people that can fuel you with funding. Absolutely. That would make your life absolutely more explosive and fun, and put you into that control position, rather than to wondering, is this idea good enough? Because I know it's good enough because you're doing it.
Well, and it's funny because that day that I met you, Rachel and Jason, was the first time I ever like publicly stated it or even talked about it in front of an audience. I had done a couple LinkedIn posts where I kind of wove some stories in, and they hit. So when Marley asked me to speak that day, I said, well, I'm just going to start to throw this out. And then the more I'm hearing and sharing and people are giving me the feedback, it's also giving me that fuel, which is going to make me find the time to make it happen and keep me. It's not like it's a secret and I haven't shared it with anyone. So if I don't do it, it's okay. The more I talk about it, the more I have to do it.
Well, the real truth is you're dynamic and you're incredible and you can do anything you want to do. And
thank you.
I think that's a big reason why we wanted to have you on the show. And I think, the acknowledgement in real time is the blessing that we deserve when we do the work. So I appreciate you doing that and making yourself vulnerable, because that is the other side of asking yes and asking people for things, is then you get opportunities that you didn't expect would happen, meeting Absolutely. The producers and meeting these people. And that's what it is about bandwidth, is like, how do I manage what I've created now?
Well, and when you work for clients, you're putting them first. And then when I realized, like, oh, of course, like I want Marley and Steve's wedding to be a success. And then my other client, Hillary, that you met, we're doing a big event in September. So it's like, okay, well then where does my project fit in? Because I'm making sure everyone else's babies are getting love. And that's when I was like, you know what? I need to start saying no to a couple of other things that aren't bringing me the joy. And so it's funny, while I'm driving now, when I'm relaxing, like different like chapter things are hitting me, different ideas for chapters that tie back to, right? It's a yes and a no. Those things kind of.
I love this for you.
Yeah. So I need to start like probably like audio noting them to myself or something. I will get there.
I love that. And I'm going to just unpack just a little bit with that. Thank you for sharing. Some of the things that you're saying, because I know we're talking about, self-empowerment and, breaking through your own barriers that you've set for yourself and getting out of your own headspace and all of that. And I can't help but think of, and then, James asking about, bandwidth and how do you navigate it? And having been in the trenches of, if there is such a thing as frontline, functional internal medicine for the last 2.5 decades, whatever that means. Having been in the front line of that, I've heard a lot of stories. And primarily, Rachel and I have worked with our private clientele with women, not exclusively, but primarily with women. And it's interesting because some of those things that we're told as we develop, our partnerships with our clients, are things that are very akin to what we're discussing today. Things like bandwidth, especially I notice this more with women. It's not true for men too, but I just notice it with women where, their husbands or partners, their kids, their family, their church responsibilities, their jobs, their, fill in the blank, housekeeping duties, laundry. I mean, everything comes before everything. They say yes to everything except their needs. And so I think that that's part of this bandwidth that I see in health that really, erodes away health in the short term, let alone the long term, especially with women, because I think that we can have a whole discussion about societal dynamics on this, but I just want to put that out there. But to juxtapose it with what we're talking about all they can say is no, the same people that we've worked with also have had, who knows what reasons exactly, probably adverse childhood experiences, that we've all had to go through, but they have a hard time asking for what they need. So again, it's again, this fear of something. It's a fear of rejection or being too much or asking for too much or, whatever that is, that keeps our clients that have kept, the thousands and thousands, countless clients that we've worked with, especially women, that keep them from asking for what they need at their core level, and instead taking on everyone else's burden and on their bandwidth that they're left with nothing. So I just wanted to bring home that my impetus, besides that you're dynamic and you're awesome and I love hearing about what you're doing and I can't wait to read your book and all of those things, and have more discussions on that. I think that what we're chatting about here, such a powerful tool to advocate. If we can plant this seed in those of our listeners that are struggling with chronic illness or chronic symptoms, or they don't know what to do next, or they think they might know what to do, but they're afraid to ask or talk to their partner about it, because especially when we start thinking outside the box, a lot of things aren't covered with insurance. So there's an expense, and a lot of women, again, especially women, don't feel worthy. So they don't want to ask. And I think it holds people back, is where I'm coming from. And if we can help people break this barrier of don't say yes to everything, say yes to what's on your bandwidth, and that's an alignment for where you are and where you want to go, whatever that means. And then learn to ask. If we can just break through those barriers of asking for what we need, I personally think that it would be such a powerful tool. So to turn this into a question, I'd love to hear how this idea of all they can say is no has affected your health and your self-advocacy for yourself, whatever that is, self-health. In fact, our good friend, Dr. Fab Mancini, just wrote a book that's hard to say called Self-Health. Try to say that quickly, but everybody should check that out. But at any rate, Kristen, I'd love to hear your perspective on how that's affected you or could affect others. And then also, what does a busy, professional, successful person like yourself do to prioritize your health? Like, what are you doing to take care of yourself?
Yeah. And I realized as I was saying, thinking about different chapter titles and trying to be pithy, I was like, well, saying no to others is actually saying yes to yourself.
Ooh,
As simple as that is, I realized I needed, there were a couple of situations that happened with some not clients, but some people that I work with. And I was just like, you know what? Why do I continue to let them frustrate me when they're really just filling up my time that I'm not using to write said book? So saying no to them is actually empowering me to say yes to me. I'm going to go take a walk with my dogs. I'm going to go sit out in my backyard and listen to the birds chirp, because you're right. Mental health and time for yourself is just as precious. And so you do have to say yes to yourself, right? And sometimes, yesterday was an especially crazy day, speaking of bandwidth, but I gave myself grace because a lot of things happened while I was gone. And Sunday I wanted to rest. I sent one email on Sunday. So I had those boundaries for myself. I could have gotten sucked into the email, but I was like, I need a day to rest and recover. Monday's going to be a busy day. it is what it is, and you're just going to get through it. But then today, I'm going to try to have I'm off, right? At a certain time. When you work with people in different time zones, you have to have those boundaries, which means you have to say no to others so you can say yes to yourself. Because otherwise, when you have people that are needy, need questions, forget what time zone you're in or whatever, usually I like man it. I'm like, hey, I have a hard stop today at 6 p.m. EST because I'm going to see a movie or whatever. It is hard.
I love the pre-frame.
Yeah. Because, when you work with LA, that's 3 hours from Massachusetts. So it just gets hard and people forget and you don't.
There's this saying. There's this saying when I learned as a kid is if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And if mom ain't healthy, ain't nobody healthy and happy.
Exactly.
So it is important to prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
And to say, look, yeah,
I grew up things, but my son's grown now, so I'm like, now it's mommy time.
Well, I think what Dr. and Jason and what Rachel do together is help people with their health. And me being an advocate for health, we just teamed up together because I had the impetus to say, hey, let's start a podcast together. What are they going to do? Say no? and it worked.
Yeah.
And back to what Jason was asking about your own health design, like what do you do? How do you stay healthy? Well, it sounds like you're strategically figuring out what to say no to, which I think is so powerful. Yep. But maybe this is a good idea for all of our listeners too. I'm sure all of us that are watching this have had a car situation in our lifetime, and we've taken advice from somebody that says, hey, you should probably go get 3 estimates on that. And I think the same way about our health. We should go and get estimates from knowledgeable people that can give us a snapshot of what's going on with our personal life and how to make it better faster. And there's a lot of experts out there that are just waiting for you to cold DM them or cold call them because guess what? They're looking for business too. And they want to help you. And that's what they've gone to school for 7 years or been practicing for a decade on. And you're a dream to them. So I think that that's a good thing for people to think about too, that have busy lives that are out there, that are creators, producers, developers, business people. If you're not healthy and happy, ain't nobody healthy, happy around you. And you got to prioritize yourself and find out those people you can get those health estimates from. And a good spot to be would be to reach out to Dr. Jason and Rachel and to see what they can do for you. Because I do think that there's a lot of people out there that are just saying, I got to do this next thing. I got to make the next post. I got to send the 30 DMs today. I got to follow up with the past 30 DMs that I sent out for. I got to find funding for this thing. And then before they know it, they're still texting, looking at a glowing screen at 10 p.m. at night. And they're like, I don't know if I'm going to brush my teeth and shower today.
Mm-hmm. Well, it can all be overwhelming, right? So what I did, because actually I have been on a focus on health, got my labs checked.
Mm-hmm. Good for you.
I work with a company called Joy Wellness, and
amen.
Through one of my clients, and through that, I was like, oh, I would like to get my full labs, check my hormones, all of that. So it can all be overwhelming, except if you just do one thing at a time. Because if you try to do it all, you're not going to do it all, right? So last year, starting in say October, I think it was the end of October, I was like, okay, now time to focus. So I got my labs checked, started focusing on eating, drinking. You know what's in here? Coffee and protein. So you change the habits that also will make you feel better, but you just can't do it all at once, right? And so since the end of October, I've lost 39 pounds.
Yes.
Got my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone things getting all, evened out and feeling amazing.
Good for you.
But I couldn't do it all at once. I had to do one thing at a time. Now the next thing, start building muscle, lifting heavy shit, as my client, Dr. Kelly, says, right? Because it's the more I hang around with people like you and Steve and Marley and all those biohackers, our health is the thing that we need to invest in the most.
Our wealth.
Yeah, that's all we have. Yeah, we say, what's really interesting? James has said this a number of times to me recently, and I saw in my social feed, this came up about a year ago, and I'm like, there's James creeping in. But it also crept up 6 years ago and 8 years ago, James. And it's the quote where you remind me that, a healthy person has thousands of dreams, but a sick person has one, and that, to be healthy. And I mean, like literally, having surrounded ourselves with entrepreneurs and high level thinkers that want to literally change the world. I think the reason that so many of us get into biohacking and optimum functioning and fine tuning everything that we can and data driven and all of that stuff, all of it is because we know that, just coming back to what you're saying, that our passion for our mission is so high, but it's only going to go as far as my personal health, focus, intention, attention can go. And if I don't prioritize myself, it ain't going to happen. And then coming back to all they can say is no. So many of us in this world, I think everyone at the wedding, I'm kidding, but everyone in this world, we put so much pressure on ourselves, and we just want to get it done and just want to get it done. And I don't know about everyone on this call, but I know for me, sometimes I'm like, I'll just figure it out myself and do it, because by the time I explain to somebody that knows how to do it, what I want done, I could just figure it out myself. And I do that a lot, and I'm learning. And actually, Rachel and I had our morning alignment this morning, and she out of the blue said something like, I don't know the words that she used, but this is what I heard. So Rachel, I hope I interpreted it, was I need to remember to delegate. Like, we've got a whole group of people around us that want us to succeed, and we can collaborate. We can ask, right? I think it's probably because we were talking about this interview, but that we can ask, and all they can say is no. And I was like, damn, you're just so right. Like, you're just so right. We don't have to do it all. So at any rate, I don't know where that meandering took me. It is about passion, and it is about just leaning in and asking for what you need with your health and advocating for yourself. And I just think it's so important. I think it's lost. And actually, the more I'm hearing us speak, the more and I can't remember who said it. I think it's been said a couple times, but I wish they would have just taught us when we were young, and not just lip service. Hey, if you need something, ask for help. But I mean, the real social conditioning that goes behind that. Like, hey, it's actually okay to ask for help. In fact, your life is going to be better if you ask for help. And also teach people sovereignty and to lean on their own. I mean, it's a fine balance.
Give practical examples of how different people have done it and been successful. And then
when we're rejected, we teach those young kids nervous system regulation, and that it's okay to be rejected, and it's okay to learn to self-regulate, And I don't know what else we're learning in kindergarten through 12th grade, but I think if we just learn those things, how to take care of ourselves with health and how to do something with money, like just organize our money. I think everything else we learn, it might be superfluous, if I'm saying that word right. But at any rate,
let's not get us started on the education system. Yeah.
Right.
But what can we do to help change that, right? A couple years ago during COVID, I thought, maybe I'll start a nonprofit and teach kids how to take their stories and do things. But it's like, that takes funding, and that takes a team, and right? So like, it's also in line with like what Marley and Steve are doing. It's like, get rich, give back. Like, you all want to make money, but it's like, I don't need more money to buy a Lamborghini or to buy a bigger house. Like, I need more money to tell more stories, to have more impact, to do more things. And that's where I'm attracted to people that are in that alignment. And I think who we were with this weekend, and the more you hang around with a group of like-minded entrepreneurs, you can't not drink the Kool-Aid and follow suit. And then everybody's kind of like growing and winning together in this kind of magical way. So I think it's just infectious. And you're not going to go hang around with some biohackers and learn what some of the things they were sharing and not look into it, right? I almost started crying because I lost a friend, actually a filmmaker friend of mine, to early Alzheimer's. He passed away November 30th of last year at 57 years old. He's a filmmaker. We had worked on 5 films together. And to watch that, and when that gentleman was talking the other day, I'm like, geez, maybe that could have helped detect it. And we have these tools, but so anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but sharing those stories too is really important, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can see you're on mission, and I love it. And yeah, I'm just learning. Yeah, collaboration is so key, and we're all better together, right? And I think we're living in a society where it's like you have to be very independent and, you know, make your own way. And I think, yeah, coming together is just so important. So if someone's feeling alone, or like, you know, watching this feeling alone, like they don't have anybody or anywhere to go, you're not alone. And that's the point of this show too. It's like, we're not alone. We don't have to suffer and struggle alone. We're here to like lift each other up. Right. What would you say to someone that's feeling alone right now, or like they don't know where to start with like asking for what they need? What would be like a good way to like start kind of like leaning in?
I mean, for me, it's just start, right? Like all they, not to keep hitting it, but like all they can say is no. Now, I would say, what are you afraid of? Mm-hmm. Are you afraid of rejection? Like I'm not a psychiatrist, and I can only share kind of like what I went through. I just started putting my foot on the mat and reaching out and flexing the muscle. That's how you get stronger, right? So if somebody needs a friend, I don't know, go on Facebook, go find like an old friend or any friend, right? And just start, because what do you have to lose, right? If they don't respond, move down the list. There's lots of humans out there that are looking for connection and want to help people and want to be a part of a project, a mastermind, a whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, and sometimes it's like, when I think about some of the people that I've met, I didn't know I wanted to come on the Get Better Faster podcast, but I met you all and you asked me, so I'm showing up. But I don't know what you, right? And that's
decision ever, by the way, you know. So
it's like all they can say is no. Sometimes you just have to show up. Like there's all these little like catchphrases that are so basic, but when I think about them, they apply.
Absolutely.
How many times Marley could have said, you're getting on the stage, and I could have said, no, I'm not. Mm-hmm. But instead I did it because I was like, what do I have to lose? I could screw up. They could laugh at me. I guess maybe I have thicker skin because I'm more grown and mature and I whatever. But that came from trying things and failing. Like that's the other thing. I failed a lot of time, right? You're not learning if you're not failing. So there's all those like sayings that are not mine that I truly believe in. And so you only get stronger when you flex the muscle. And so if you don't ask, then you're not going to learn. So
I want to say yes to all of that. And I think that I know that you said I'm not a psychiatrist, but that's what makes what you're saying so brilliant, because you're not pathologizing emotion. You know, like I'm not picking on that branch of medicine, but you know, you're not pathologizing it. We're acknowledging that there might be some anxiety or some stress around it. And that's a normal human emotion for people to have that we don't need to medicate. And we're talking about really Gestalt therapy, which is, you know, go and approach it and just do it. I mean, and then accept the rejection. Like all they can say is no. I mean, it's not going to kill you. I mean, you know, and pulling in old expressions, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it's true. Every time that we approach, the fear, the rejection in this case, and we navigate through it, you know, the stronger that we get. And I just really appreciate this because it's, you know, the movement that I see you creating with the, you know, all they can say is no. And the book that you're writing, I mean, it's so applicable. It's not just business. It's not even like a micro niche of like the film industry. I mean, it's kind of the lens, but I mean, it's not that. It's not business, but it is. It's not, you know, relationships, but it is. It's really about, to me, finding your core self and loving that core self enough and believing in that core self enough in your vision, in your mission to say, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Like James said earlier, I'm a dude and I'm going to go for it. And that's just what I'm going to do. I just love that you've put this together and I can't wait, like I said, to read your book. I just want to put that back out there. Yeah. It's so pressure.
Well, I want to help you create the book. So I'm already putting my hand up.
Let's talk.
I'm already putting my hand up and saying, hey, we have solutions for you.
Amazing.
And I think that Jason, what he's saying there is so spot on with what everybody else might be feeling or thinking. And what Rachel said too, there's lots of people out there that are lonely that don't give themselves permission, and they don't know how to make friends, or they don't want to reach out because they're fearful of they didn't do shit. And they get to this point in their life that they're like, well, what if I have to show up and tell somebody what I'm up to? You know, I'm not really proud of that. So I think that you're super proud of the things you've done. And Rachel and Jason have done amazing things in this world. But there's a lot of people out there that'll be watching this or listening to this that are going to be saying, damn, I need to watch and listen to this lady talk 100 times because she did the thing that I need to do. And this is the play.
I screwed up plenty. That's
I know. But this is the playbook for people to follow if they feel like they're not good enough, or they didn't do it good enough, or their self-esteem sucks, or they're afraid and they feel like they're in an abusive relationship.
But I didn't always have this. That's
I know.
The thing. It's like my screw ups.
But
that's why we have you on the show.
How long does it take to be an overnight success? Right? James always says it takes 25 years to be an overnight success, you know, or something like that, you know? So
that's why we have you on the show, because you are the example for other people to figure it out.
But it's not easy. Like, that's the thing. That's the other message, I guess. It's like, maybe I'm making it look so easy. I'm old and I've been at this a long time.
Amen,
and sure,
sister.
do I compare myself to, so let's use the film industry. Are there female filmmakers that I know that are younger than me that have bigger, more credits? For sure. But my journey is my journey, and I like my journey. It's my journey and it's unique. I am the only producer that I know that's a producer that also works with influencers and manages their brand partnerships and has podcasts. So it's like, I've created this hybrid thing, but I've worked my butt off to get here, and I'm old. I'm not 29 years old, right? So it took me a long time to get here, and I worked in corporate America until 2019. So like, I had the safe day job as a single mother because I had to pay the mortgage. And in 2019, right before COVID, that's a whole nother podcast, right? So for the last 5 years has been this, like, living this true self of these entrepreneur person that you see in front of you. Sure, I always had my company on the side, but you know, it's not easy. Trust me, I've made lots of mistakes. I own those mistakes.
Yeah. I always tell the people that I'm consulting with, or my kids, depending on, you know, exactly what it is, that I've made plenty of mistakes. And part of my job is just to guide you to not make the same mistakes so that you can make your own grandiose mistakes, you know, and then we'll work through those. Because
exactly.
I think the one thing that, I mean, you know, of course, in every field, there's, you know, younger, faster, newer, I mean, all that stuff. But I think there's something with experience and time and wisdom. I mean, I think there's wisdom that comes with years. And maybe that's just me because, you know, I'm not, you know, 30 years old anymore either. But I really appreciate that. And I know that we're speaking of setting boundaries earlier in the call, and that, you know, setting, you know, call times and all that. I know that we have an end to the call time now. And like we promised before, when we were in the green room and got rolling, we're probably going to hit the stride about an hour or an hour and a half into the show. And since we're on a time crunch, you know, I would love to dive in deeper. I'd love it when your book comes out to actually have you back on the show and like even go deeper into this, into the psychology behind it, and all of that. So I just want to say, you know, thank you, Kristen. It's, you know, as faith-based person, I know that God, the universe, you know, nothing is coincidence, and things conspire. I believe the universe conspires to bring us to the exact moments that we're supposed to be in at the exact time. And you gave that talk on All They Can Say Is No, and I have implemented it in my personal life and my relationships. I've taught it to our kids who are adults now. I tell it to everybody. I tell it to everybody that I can. Kristen Lucas, all they can say is no, you know? And so anyway, I just want to say thank you for radically, you know, empowering me and for being on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been super empowering, and it's going to force me to, every conversation is pushing me forward. So I appreciate all of you and your enthusiasm around my toothbrush idea that hit me one morning.
Great.
Remember, 3 times a day. But Kristen, yeah, it's been absolutely transformative. I think a lot I think a lot of people that are listening to us they could glean a lot of perspectives, and we're just regular people that refuse to be normal. And I think that that's one of the coolest things is we refuse to take the status quo and say that's going to be me for the rest of my life. And it wasn't just about you talking about how to unpack making business deals or making movies. This was a part about telling people that they can't play small anymore. And if you stay stuck and you don't ask, then you stay sick and you have fear. And accepting that is less than you deserve as a person. And I think that those are the real branding takeaways that I got from our conversation. And your philosophy, all I can say is no, it's medicine for anybody that's been paralyzed with fear of rejection. And it gives people that chance to up level and be more curious about themselves and find out what they really need and go after it and work on their health, because your health is your wealth. And like Jason said, if you have your health, you have a million dreams. If you don't, you have one. And that's the way in business too. If you have funding, you have a million dreams. If you don't, you have one. I need more funding. And the real takeaways is nobody's coming to save you, but solutions like what you're talking about, what you're teaching, you can save yourself by simply opening your mouth and asking for what you need. And that goes from kids. I know that's a really cool area that I think you should develop some stuff in, just because I think empowering the younger generation will teach them that they don't need to know how to spell the word algebra.
Yeah,
they don't even need to know what the algebra does. It's non-conclusive. Like I've been on this earth for 46 years and it's never taught me anything.
No.
But yeah, you have actionable things that people can use on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis, which I just want to applaud you for making that front and center. And to our Get Better Faster Nation, thank you for listening and your continued support. You know what the best way to do to support us, everybody, every time we close out a show, we say this: just share the show. Share this message with somebody that needs it. And maybe this is going to be dropped in somebody's DMs that needs to hear this message. And they've been afraid to ask people for what they need. And now they get a chance to see the playbook that you've designed and developed.
James, I want to jump in real fast, and I'm going to ask right now, hey, for you guys that think you'd be great show sponsors, we are actually getting ready to drop our produced shows. And for anybody catching this live, we are, interested in collaborating in brand partnerships. So feel free to, message me in all the places that you can find me, which is everywhere, or Rachel or James. And we'd be really happy to set up a meeting and chat about collaboration with GBF. So that's my ask. And all you can say is no, but for those of you that say yes, you're in for some great surprises.
Yeah. And, I also want to double down on that. We are creating something very special here. We're bringing the Avengers of the world together that have big belief and that are doing the work. And I think it's going to be something of a unique opportunity for people to get on the ground level with us, because we have a big momentum field that we're creating right now. And I can just feel it. So I just want to thank our GBF Nation for subscribing. Never miss an episode, guys. You know that we're going to continuously bring on great guests and continuously drop the hijinks and have all the tomfoolery that you guys expect from us. And I know that the questions will keep on coming in and the guests will keep on coming in. But we have so many incredible guests that will blow your mind with real solutions for reclaiming your health, your happiness, and your life. And up until next time, keep questioning everything, keep asking boldly, and keep getting better faster. And thank you, Kristen, for being on with us today. Dr. Jason and Rachel, you guys nailed it today. I really appreciate the show. And I know you have an appointment coming up in the next 13 minutes. So thank you so much for being on Get Better Faster podcast, Kristen.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Love everybody. See you next time.
Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning into the Get Better Faster podcast. Join the movement and visit getbetterfasterpodcast.com to find all our episodes, micro content, and resources to help you and your family get better faster.